Hi everyone, Kim here in Northern California, Zone 9B. Welcome back to Olive City Homestead. Today I'm going to share with you 2 videos in a series, how to raise ducks as pets. Now, since you're here, I think maybe you're interested in getting ducklings as pets. It's at least a thought in your mind, and that's where I was 6 months ago. I can't be happier now that I chose to follow my instincts because I love my ducks. So this 2-part series is going to show you all about what you need, what's maybe not so important, and just what to expect. I wanted to prepare you though. The first 4 minutes that you're going to see are old clips from when the ducks were just 1 and 2 days old, and they're very quiet. That's because I was filming at night and I didn't want to startle them. I also had a cold. So really, you're not going to be able to understand or even hear anything I'm saying. But that's not a problem because all I was saying was, oh my gosh, they're so cute. Look how cute they are. Which is true. There's not much cuter than baby ducklings, I have to admit. But hey, where did the ducklings go anyway? Oh, there they are. Look at them digging around in the mud. That's about one of their favorite things to do. That and swim in their pool. Anyway, as I was saying, ducklings are super cute when they're young, so you can enjoy those 4 minutes of just, well, looking at how cute they are. But also, at the same time, in addition to their cuteness, I wanted you to see the setup, what you can do to prepare for brand new baby ducklings. Of course, I could have just told you about it afterwards, but I think that seeing something is not only believing, but it's understanding much better. And so after you enjoy those 4 minutes, I also want to let you know that the rest of the video is much brighter, much louder, very informative, and I think you'll go away from this series, How to Raise Ducks as Pets, knowing all that you'll need to know to have a successful endeavor with raising your pet ducklings. So without further ado, let's get into it. How to Raise Ducks as Pets, Part 1.
Well, the ducklings look pretty happy. They're 2 days old. I just picked them up about 2 hours ago. They came from San Francisco in the mail. They look really good. I have 6 female ducks and 6 different varieties. And they're going to grow really fast. And I will keep you updated maybe once a week or so. Right now, they're in a very small crate with a heat lamp. And the water's up on that raft because they're notorious for splashing in it and making a big mess. So this is one way some people have found helps a bit. We'll see. But they seem very happy and healthy, all of them. And they're quite amusing. 7 o'clock in the morning. I startled them. And they're still sleepy. I love how the big yellow one on the edge of the metal rack keeps letting her head fall to the side as she falls asleep. It reminds me of my toddlers in their high chairs falling asleep and their heads lolling to the side. Looks like, oh, she finally moved. I've been watching her for about 15 minutes with her head flopping to the side, but she's finally moved. Well, good morning. Day 2 at Olive City Homestead with the ducklings. There are 6. One is still hiding under the edge of the pan. But they're all doing well.
Okay, I thought I would just insert a little few disclaimers here. If you notice that my videos sounded a bit quiet and that they're in the dark and such, that's because those videos were only filmed for my family. I wasn't even thinking about doing YouTube back then, but I did think they were good enough that you would want to see them so you'd understand how the setup is for baby ducks when they're just a couple of days old. And that brings me to the second clarification I want to make, and that is, I believe I said they were 1 day old, and I said they were 2 days old when I got them, and that's because actually I'm not sure how old they were. They were either 1 or 2 days. They were shipped from Metzer Farms, and I'm not quite sure if they shipped them when they were 1 or 2 days old, so that's why of that discrepancy. But they were very young, and they were all healthy and fine when I got them at the post office. I was a little worried about that. Maybe if you've never received birds or anything else through the mail, it might concern you, but they did a great job, and they called me as soon as they came in, and I was able to go down and pick them up even during the off hours at the post office, so that was great. Another clarification is their food. I wanted to explain more fully about their food, and that is from day 1 to about 3 weeks old, you need to be feeding the ducklings a combination of chick starter in crumble form along with niacin supplement. Now you can get that in liquid form, but the easiest way I found and what I did was used powdered brewer's yeast, which you can get through Amazon or at like a health food store, or even some regular grocery stores carry brewer's yeast. But you can look up the ratio, but it's basically a pound of brewer's yeast to 40 pounds of chick starter. So that is all you need. And then once they're 3 weeks old, thereabouts 3 to 4 weeks old, you switch them to chick grower or perhaps turkey grower. But the main difference is that the protein level goes down from 18 to 20% down to about 16%. And that's important. But you keep them on the brewer's yeast or niacin supplement at least till they're about 12 to 16 weeks old. Some people stay on it till have the ducks stay on it till they're about 20 weeks. But I believe I did it until about 14 weeks, and at that point the brewer's yeast, I ran out of the bag, and I thought, you know, they don't really need it anymore. What that's for, by the way, is to prevent some bone deformities occurring in their legs, which would cause bowing and things like that. And then at 20 weeks is when you switch them to the adult chicken layer in pellet form. So they are eating the same thing now that my chickens eat. And at that point, I'm not feeding the brewer's yeast anymore. They don't need that supplement anymore. I do offer them, like I do my chickens, oyster shell, which they may or may not eat. You know, if they need it, they'll take it. That, of course, is, if you know about chickens, is to make their shells harder, their egg shells harder as they start laying. So I just wanted to clarify all that. And one other really important thing about feeding ducks is that you always have to give them water when you give them food. So do not put food in their cage or pen or wherever you're keeping them at night without water. If you take away the water, you need to take away the food, because they can't digest the food without the water, and it's actually dangerous for them. So just make sure that you always give them plenty of water. So what else do you need to raise ducks? Well, in addition to the food that we've just talked about, you need a crate, preferably one with real walls, not just wire sides, because ducklings feel more secure with the walls. You need a warm room, dry place for them. You need a heat lamp to keep it warm even at night when the temperatures go down. You need pine shavings or something like that to absorb any spilled water and all the little poop that the ducklings are going to be doing all the time. You need what else? Food, water, crate, pine shavings, heat lamp. I think you're set. One more thing, do not forget to get a paint pan and a paint pan rack. That is so important. It will make raising ducklings far less stressful and far, far less messy. So go get one now. Home Depot, Walmart, Target, online, hardware store, just about anywhere you can find those in the paint section. So go get one. What about a pool though? A lot of people want their little ducklings to go swimming early on. You see lots of cute videos on Instagram and YouTube of little ducklings that are just a few days old swimming in the sink or in a little tub. It is cute, but it's also risky. Baby ducks don't have the waterproof oil that older ducks have. They don't get that oil until their feathers come in, which doesn't start happening until 3 or 4 weeks, and they're not fully feathered until they're about 7 weeks. Now, you might say, well, then how do the baby ducks out in the wild swim in the water? Well, that's because their mothers take their own waterproof oil and coat their ducklings with it. And that waterproof oil provides a shield from the water, and so the ducklings don't get chilled. If you let ducklings that are too young go in water to swim, and they stay in too long, or when they come out, if they don't get warmed up immediately, they can get chilled too much and can even die from it. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. People do it all the time. I'm just saying take precautions. I didn't do it, but if I had let my ducklings swim early, I definitely would have towel dried them after a quick little swim and put them right under that heat lamp. So a pool is not something you need right away, therefore. My pool behind me is just a kiddie pool, and it's worked great for my 6 ducks. It's definitely big enough for all of them. I think the most I've ever seen in it at one time is 4, but that's not because they couldn't fit. It's because they're just not all interested in it at the same time. The funny story is that because it was February and March when they were young, and then COVID hit in the middle of March, I didn't get to the store even looking for a pool until late March, early April. Maybe even later than that. But when I did, there were no pools to be found. I'm not sure why, but there weren't. And so I didn't end up finding a pool until the ducklings were what I wouldn't even call ducklings anymore. Technically they were, but they were 10 weeks old before they entered a pool. And guess what? It didn't hurt them at all. They took to it right away once they figured out what it was. That took a day. And so if you do let them go swimming early, just take precautions. And if you don't worry. They'll figure out swimming no matter when you introduce them to a pool. All right, the girls are now a week and 6 days old. So they'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. I got them when they were 1 day old, so I will have had them 2 weeks on Wednesday. I moved them into this larger crate day before yesterday. They just simply had outgrown the smaller one. I'm going to open this a little bit so you can get a better view. So yeah, 6 girls, 6 different breeds. The dark ones are a chocolate runner. She's the blackest one. And the other is a blue runner. And then the 4, well, they were dark yellow. Now they're starting to change colors and get a little bit of pattern in. Their feathers won't be in until they're over 3 weeks, 4 weeks old. Those 4 light ones, though, are a Saxony, a Welsh Harlequin, a Buff, and a silver apple yard. And they all very happy together. They were just running around, going back from their water to their food,
which is right there. That triangular stone next to their food dish is simply to weight down the tray it's on. And then there's their heat lamp corner, which they go to very occasionally. They're usually just all over the place. They're quite cozy in here, but not too hot. I switched to this larger feeder a few days ago when I switched them into this crate, because it did have a water dispenser that was that size, and they were going through it about every 2 hours. This bigger one lasts a good 5 to 7 hours, although I check on them every 3 or 4 hours, just because they're so cute and I like to. They're rooting around because I threw a few more pine shavings on top. You know, at 2 weeks, I've been very pleased with the fact that there is absolutely no smell in here and very little mess. So this paint tray setup has worked wonderfully well. I got it off of some YouTube channel. I'll need to go back and check which one it was, as an idea to prevent the entire pen, crate, whatever, from being muddied up with, or turn into a little pine shaving swamp with the water that they splash out of there. And it has worked great. My only issue with it has been simply that once I switched in the last couple of days to this bigger feeder water dispenser, because there's so much more water in it, by the time that it's time to fill up the water dispenser again, that paint pan is completely full of water. And that's a little difficult to remove from this pen, keeping it level without spilling any, especially though I must say it's complicated because I have only been recently out of a cast. My left wrist was broken in several spots, so it's not strong yet, and so I have to kind of do it almost one-handed, so that has been challenging, but that just makes me change out the water before that happens, so I don't let them drink it down to the bottom because the pan would be so full it's too difficult. So other than that, it has worked fantastic. I have almost no mess at all, so I highly recommend this route. They're getting big, aren't they? They seem to grow almost overnight, actually. I know they don't. Ducks are fast growing and they continuously grow, but about 3 days ago, I came in the morning, and from the previous night, I could have sworn they had grown an inch. And that's when I said, okay, they've got to come out of that crate. And this worked really well. It is a crate I had, or a small kennel I had for a dog at one time, but I don't have a dog now. So I was going to show you here. What I did was I attached with zip ties hardware cloth around it, all the way around. It's 3-foot hardware cloth, and this kennel is probably 3.5 foot. I haven't measured in height, so it doesn't go quite all the way up, but that's not important. You could even use 2-foot hardware cloth, and that's so they can't get out. So that may look like they couldn't get out, and I had hoped that would be the case. When I put them in here, let's go back inside the door. I watched for about, it took only about 2 minutes to see that they were, a couple of them at least, were going to try to get out. And the smaller, I have 2 that are real small, and then the runners are kind of thinner. Or at least they appear so. They may just have less fluff. But in any case, they tried to get out, and they, of course, could get their head and neck out. And one of them was able to get very quickly up to her shoulders, just past that. And, I don't think they could get out. But my worry was that if I left, they might get stuck. Or if one of the smallest ones did manage to squeeze their way out, I didn't think they'd be able to get back in. So just to play it safe, I put on this hardware cloth. And really, that's great because now it's here. In the future, I could use this as a brooder from day one if I wanted to. Although I think they do like the coziness of the crate the first week. But if I had more of them, if I ever got more than 6 ducklings or chicks, I could use this from the beginning because of the hardware cloth.
I would just drape the whole thing with a heavier blanket for the first week to make sure to have added warmth. Right now, only other than the heat lamp, all I have is this sheet. It's a thin sheet folded in half, and it's just draped over about a third of the crate. Not even that right now, but at night I drape it over about a third of the crate, just to give them a little added cozy factor. They're still, I'd say by today they're pretty much used to this openness. The first day was pretty funny. They would run around a little crazily, like, what is this? All this space, and you know, where's all the green walls that were surrounding us? Okay, they're going after their food. As you probably know, ducks need water to digest their food, so they tend to go back and forth kind of crazily between the food to the water and food to the water. It's fun to watch, actually. But I've been very, very pleased with the setup, and I just am so grateful for YouTube and all the channels from which you can basically learn anything you want to know. Right, girls? Right? Yeah. So they had their little snack. Are you going to settle down now for an afternoon nap? It's a very windy day today, but they don't seem to be bothered with the occasional bang on the outside of this shed. This is a 10 by 12 writing barn, actually, so it's got a couple of desks and reading chairs and bookcases and actually a makeshift bunk over here. Yeah, there we go. I have taken a lot of the decorative things and pillows out and covered the chair and taken some the bottom shelf of books out because I expected that it would be more messier than it is. I expected also more dust like chicks do. I mean, when I brooded the chicks a couple 3 years ago now, I think. 3 years this spring. Man, that room I kept them in was just coated so thick with dust, but the ducklings really, granted I had 20 of them, okay, but the ducklings really haven't done that. The worst is, you know, me putting the pine shavings in. It does get out the bottom of this kennel because the very bottom has a, you know, a half an inch maybe open space along the bottom that some of the shavings push out, so that gets out, but very simple to sweep up. All right, we'll visit them again in a week. The ducklings say bye for now. They have not yet to leave this crate. I tipped it on its side. My daughter Audrey's in here with me. That's whose feet and legs you're seeing over there. But here are their water and food to tempt them, and they are not leaving. That one's enjoying the sunshine there. The rest of them are like, okay, this is a nice little home, even though it's kind of strange.
That one's getting closer and closer.
She's edging closer, yeah. I will be very curious. Oh, I think she's gonna do it. I think she's gonna do it. One foot's out. Oh, that was weird. I'll go back in with my sisters. Well, friends anyway. Come on, girls. Do I have to tip you out of there? Do you need help to come out, huh? They're having too much fun dibbling around in that fresh pine shavings I put in there. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to help them out here so they understand what they're missing. Right, so we took them out and they ran over to the corner. Let's see if they start exploring. Come on, girls, be brave. Be brave. Can't make any movements, Audrey. Oh, you found the water, didn't you? And grass. What is that? That's called grass. There's a lot more over here if you come out of the corner. The ducklings are 3 weeks old today. So they're just taking a little short field trip into my large outdoor dog kennel that's rarely used for visiting dogs. It took us forever to get them out of the crate. They did not want to leave, so we had to help them a little bit. Okay, so this is what the duck pen looks like. It's about 3 inches deep with the wet underneath the top layer of pine shavings. The ducks are on a little field trip right now, which I'm probably going to post that video with this. And my daughter's watching them while I clean this out. This is about a week's worth. And it doesn't smell, well, okay, so they're 3 weeks old. From 2 weeks to 3 weeks in this crate, I would add fresh bedding once a day. And the only area that actually got wet until today was the left far corner. Their water is kept in the near left corner, and they would stand in that distant left corner and when they drank, so that's where the water got. That right corner stayed dry. Excuse me, still is dry. I have a feeling though that going forward, they're gonna, as they get bigger every day, it seems that the mess is gonna get created faster every day. So I may be cleaning this several times a week, we'll see. But up till now, it's been very simple. Today is the first day I've had to clean it out, and up until, I'd say 2 or 3 days ago, there was absolutely no smell at all from the 6 ducklings. None. And so I'd say that's great. And now we just have to, you know, get through the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then they'll be outside permanently when they're about 7 weeks, I think, because the end of March, I mean, we've already been having high 70s here. We are a very warm area here in Northern California. And I'm just panning around, and that's a very interested sheep we have here. What's going on, Toffee? Huh? What's going on? You smell that stuff I'm dumping? I'm dumping the wet bedding on this. Oh, there you go. You're looking now, huh? Just kidding. You faked me out. Dumping it on this patch that I'm creating, about a 20-foot long flower bed here. So I have dumped basically hay that the sheep have, you know, gotten out of their trough and left on the ground. I've dumped it here, and those black things you see are the last of the olives falling off the trees here. And yeah, this is, by the way, my north olive orchard where the sheep live, my 2 Shetland sheep. Hi guys. So the black is cocoa and the cream color one is toffee. These are miniature Shetland sheep. They're wethers, which is males who were, as you would say with cats, neutered. And they are 3 years old, and they are just very lovable. They're just pets. They're my 16-year-old daughter Megan's pets, and they're very interested in what's going on with me. Yeah, so back to work. I'm gonna finish this and go get the ducks and bring them back in. I think an hour and a half is probably sufficient time for them outside today. Yeah, all right, back to work. So the girls have moved to the middle of the pen. They've got a lot braver while I was out cleaning their cage across the property, and it's ready for them now. I think I'm tempted to take back some grass and put it in their cage for them because they seem to enjoy nibbling at it. Then again, maybe I'll just leave it here for a treat for them when they come out on their little field trips. They're definitely enjoying it. And they're not cold, which they shouldn't be since it's 75. Okay, so this is my riding barn, and it's very dusty right now because I didn't bother to clean it from the winter. Got a skylight up there. Yeah, up there. Okay, I didn't bother to clean it after the winter because see all that dust? Well, part of that is duck food, which is right down there. And here's their duck cage, because I knew I was going to have them in here, and after having raised chicks, I knew how messy and dusty everything gets, so I just thought I'll clean it afterwards. So it's all ready for them. Nice and clean. Their water is in place. Their food. That water is on a paint pan and rack, and the deep end is under the water. They have no problem, even when they were 1 day old, they had no problem climbing up on the short end of the pan, and it keeps the water, even from this big container when it's full. And as you'll know when you get ducks, or if you've had them, you know already that a lot of the water when they drink splashes out. Well, even with this big container, all the water that is splashed out stays in that pan. Well, you know, okay, that's not true. The bedding does get wet, but the bulk of it stays in that pan, and I can imagine if the pan wasn't there what it would look like. I'd definitely be cleaning it every single day. It would be a real mess. But this has worked great for us. And I don't remember whose channel I was on where I saw this idea, but I'm really glad I found it. Whoever you are, thank you. It worked great. So I'm going to go get them now. They can come back, and I'm sure they'll be glad to get back in here. I have taken down the heat lamp. I'm going to keep an eye on the weather, but you know, we are staying in the upper 50s at night, and this room stays warmer because it gets, you know, the sun all day, and so it stays warm. So I don't think they need it. They are never sitting under it. So if I notice that it's forecast that it's going to go down into the 40s, then I might put the heat lamp back for a night. But I just don't think they need it. And they're getting so tall that I'd have to rig up something above the cage now, I think, anyway. So I'm going to go get the ducks. Okay. They're back in the cage. Look at them. They're like, oh, that was exhausting. We need to take a nap. All right. I think we're exhausted too, huh, Audrey? Mm-hmm. Thanks for helping me. They have a nice clean pen for a day anyway, or a few hours. Enjoy your rest, girls. And that's the end of part 1 of our 2-part series on raising ducklings. So if you'd like to see part 2 and watch these girls transition from very, very young to outside to adults like they are now, then make sure you click on the part 2 video card at the end of this video. Also, if you'd like to see more videos with useful tips for simple homestead living and easy gardening ideas, then be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll know whenever I upload new content. Remember, you can garden and live your way and create the life you want.